there's no way Longwe could have gone to the person carrying firearm without being shot. It clearly shows that there was no intruder who entered the house carrying a gun.
That's a lie. I'm the one who was inside the house, so there are two intruders entered the house.
Don't worry, Mr. Mandela. I'm going to prove by one to you to show you that it's not correct what you are saying. It's not true that there was an intruder who entered inside the house. Besides Mr. Longwe running towards the intruder whilst carrying the firearm, how come he was not shot? How come? No firearm.
There's no intruders. Logo ngiphendule futhi kwamanga usafana ukuthi uyiphindisa kwamanga bangena abantu abawuthile yibo labo bulongwaye ecaba akushaye oyedwa wabo.
Let me first start here when you said that there was no intruder who entered the house. There were people who entered the house.
Hey Tada, we are back with another video. The name of the channel it is South African Late News, and the handle for this page it is KZN_ZA. Yeah, there was Advocate Mshololo grilling Tumana Madlala. It is a fact that there was no intruder in that house. We are told by Kininda and Baloyi that Longotshwala ran towards the intruders when they entered the house. However, the same intruder, that is Nkabi, did not shoot Longotshwala, did not chase after Longotshwala. What type of Nkabi is that? That is the question. What type of Nkabi is that? And the answer is simple. The story by Kininda and Baloyi Inganegwane. There was no intruder at the house. The people that were in the house lied to us. With now the revelations by Absalom Zungu that the police, okay, can I just say, he alleged that Kininda asked him to testify in court and say that Ntanzi and Musibiya were involved in the shooting of Senzo Meyiwa. Now I believe that they could have cooked more evidence, including this one of this intruder. You cannot tell me that Longotshwala can just run towards someone that is a robber or an intruder. Then the intruder just watches you as you run by and they don't chase you. Inkabis would have shot and unalived Longotshwala, because when an Inkabi is in the house, they make sure that they shoot everyone and leave no witnesses. So the story by these guys that were in the house, it lacks substance and it lacks what we call credibility. So if Judge Racha was a fair judge, he would see through these people that banamanga labantu akho intruders yangena ngalalanga. So kudlalwa ngathi la. Siyazi ukuthi ubani owadubula uSenzo Meyiwa. We were told who shot Senzo Meyiwa. And then now sesiyazi ngosokhona lo uBaba Zungu. He told the Eastwatch Underworld ukuthi no, Kininda came to me with that Umsutu. I don't know which was he referring to. Maybe he was referring to Umukhane. It's possible. He said he came to him and said he must implicate accused 1 and 2. After he refused, he was then harassed. The same tactics that were used towards Ntanzi and Musibiya. But then Musibiya and Ntanzi, they were abused even more because they were beaten up. So we know how the state create evidence that can suit its narrative. And then therefore also told us that Kininda, Baloyi did not want him in this case because he was seeing things that were done by the police and the state. So to them, Advocate Tefo was a threat. so he had to be removed. Remember, he was arrested in court at some point and then taken to prison where later on he got bail. But there was just an intimidation to make sure that therefore he's out of this case. But now Ubaba Zungu, when the case resumes on the 21st of May, I'm interested to hear what will the defense say, because Ubaba Zungu was on the list of the state witnesses. So I'm hoping Mnisi is going to ask Baloyi if Zungu is going to testify on behalf of the state. Then if Baloyi says no, then Mnisi must indicate that we are going to be calling Absalom Zungu to testify and show how Gininda tried to manipulate him in order to fabricate the evidence that is before court. So I'm hoping that on Monday things can move faster now, because we now know that Absalom Zungu was approached allegedly by Gininda so that he can fabricate evidence. That is a criminal offense. I am disappointed that IPID has not made any statement. They have not indicated that they will be investigating Brigadier Gininda, because such allegations are huge. We cannot have a police officer that is mentioned in such a manner. And remember, it's not the first time that Gininda is being accused of something. In the case of Rhoda van Krejcir versus the state, a witness said Gininda offered him money in order to implicate other witnesses, including Rhoda van Krejcir. And in this case too, we now know that Ubaba Zungu, he said he was offered money, and obviously they also offered him to take him overseas for safety. So you can see that there's correlation in the story. There's substance, because more than one person is accusing Brigadier Gininda of this. But then on Monday, the state are going to bring that guy from ENCA to just verify that video of Lunge walking, if it's legit or not. So he's going to verify that. But my problem is that that guy that they called was in China when that video was taken in October 2014. He was not even working for ENCA. So how can you verify something that you were not part of when it was taken? So uBaloyi lana udlala ngathi ucabanga ukuthi sonke siqhamuka Vescopies or something, because he cannot verify the video because he was not part of the production team when the video was taken. They should have called the guy that was a videographer or a cameraman. He's the person that can testify and attest that, yes, my lord, I was there on the day and I remember seeing this guy walking. So now the guy from ENCA, what is he gonna say really now? So that's why I'm saying the state is cooking evidence, because this guy was not there. So now you're gonna testify about something that he did not witness with his own eyes. So that's like fabricating evidence. You cannot call that person. But I'm interested in hearing what will the defense ask him, because once Gininda is done, or once Baloyi is done with his evidence in chief, then the defense will get an opportunity to question that guy and grill him, so that they can find out what happened on that day, who took that video, and why are they only showing us 34 seconds. Maybe that video is AI, who knows? You know, these days it's easy to fabricate videos and make it seem like it's real, whereas it's fiction. We know in this case that things are scripted, as therefore told Umek G and Tiki Mazwai on that podcast. He said this case has been scripted, and all the witnesses that you see there have been told what to say. We can start from Constable Zungu. Zungu was a state star witness that testified, I think, early last year or a year before. He implicated accused 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He said he was at a hostel where Kwabini used to stay. So Kwabini was the host, Zungu was the visitor, And then these 5 guys as well were visitors. He told us that during the day they went to shops, they bought alcohol, then they also bought meat and ate. Later on the day, when it was after 6, these guys left the hostels. Then they came back with guns. Then they celebrated the death of Senzo even before it was announced on the news, implying that these guys were involved because they knew far ahead that Senzo had lost his life. So Zungu then concluded that they must be involved if they knew that he's no longer alive. So that was his allegations. But then he kept quiet for 4 years. As a police officer, he knows the law that if you are aware of any crime that has been committed by anybody, you must report it to the nearest police station. And Zungu did not do that. He did not open a case or report these guys. You can remember that there's a guy that was arrested. His name was Zamagutlembata. He was identified by Umama Kulukumalo as the intruder that entered the house. So Zungu should have realized that a wrong person was arrested here. And then he should have spoke out. He should have gone to the police station and told them that, no, you've got a wrong guy. I know who shot Senzo. But he did not do so. For 4 years, he kept quiet. He watched as Zamagutlembata was arrested. So if Zungu was aware that these guys were involved, he would have gone to the police station and said, no, you've arrested a wrong guy. The right guys are Ntanzi, Musibi, and so on. He would have told them there. But he did not speak. Why did not speak? Because Zungu was never at the hostel. He is lying. He made up the story because the police are actually using him. It is alleged that the police are blackmailing Constable Zungu because of his past criminal activities. I don't know about this, but it is an allegation. But then his father also said, Zungu Sine, when he was interviewed by Sultan Sunday World, he said his son, that being Constable Zungu, told him that if he testifies against these guys, the police were going to give him a promotion. So it's possible that Constable Zungu is implicating Abo Ntanzi and the rest because he wanted promotion in the SAPS, which is a sad thing because you must get a promotion where you work based on your performance, based on your experience, and not because you can get a promotion through backdoor. So we know that Zungu is not being honest with the court. He's implicating these guys because he's going to get something in return. Something that we know that the police do all the time. For instance, in the road, if they catch you driving illegally or breaking the rules of the road, they ask for a cold drink. So we know that police are corrupt in various ways at various levels. So from the bottom up, from Untsumpa to Brigadier, we know that they are susceptible to corruption because they are human. They're human beings, or should I say that? So Constable Zungu, being the star witness, he's got no credibility within him. He further alleged that the family of accused number 1, Musibi, they threatened to unalive him when he was walking in Johannesburg at some point. He said he had to run for his life. However, the same Zungu did not open any case of attempted murder or whatever against the so-called perpetrator. So you can see Zungu is making up stories because he's saying this, but he cannot back up his story. And when Mnisi asked Baloyi for Zungu's AVL for the 26th of October 2014, Baloyi says Zungu's car was not fitted with an AVL. How convenient. Remember that Zungu was using the police car on that day when Senzo lost his life. So now they're saying there was no AVL. We can see through them. Amanga now. they are not showing us the AVL because it will prove Uguchi Uzungu was never at the hostel on the day that Senzo lost his life. So Zungu is misleading the court. Clearly, if Zungu was honest, they were going to show us proof. His AVL record for the day and also his cell phone records, they are not before court. Why? Because they do not fit the narrative of the state. Zungu's cell phone records would have shown otherwise. You see, your cell phone records, when you call someone or when you receive an SMS, there's a ping. It pings the location where you are. So Zungu's cell phone records for the day are not before court. Why? Clearly the state does not want us to see them because it does not suit their narrative. So the AVL of Zungu is not available. Secondly, his cell phone records are not available. So the evidence that is before court is not conclusive to convict these guys. Zungu being star witness, no. He lacks credibility. And then Zungu also said when he was at the hostel, he handed over his gun to Kwabini for safekeeping. What type of a policeman gives away his gun or handgun? So you can see that this Zungu is not a character that you can trust. He does things that are not supposed to be done by a policeman. So whatever that comes out of his mouth, I cannot believe. And I'm hoping that Judge Rata is also listening with his ears wide open, because these accused cannot be convicted based on Zungu's evidence because it lacks credibility. His father has exposed him. He said, "My son said to me, if I testify against Tans and Sibiya, they are going to give me promotion at work." So we know that Zungu is giving evidence hoping that he'll get something in return. So based on that, Zungu cannot be trusted. He cannot be trusted. Furthermore, the scientific evidence does not support Baloyi's narrative. The narrative that there was an intruder and so on. The DNA specifically says all 5 guys are excluded from the sample, meaning that they were not in the house. No DNA was found in that house that belongs to the accused. However, we're told that the accused, they wrestled in that scuffle. So when they were wrestling there, they should have left fingerprints at the kitchens or the fridge or somewhere. But their fingerprints were not found anywhere. Their DNA was not found anywhere. Meaning that the story by Baloyi and Kininda, and then we know based on Mlunghlape's statement that who shot Senzo Meyiwa. We know that Advocate Mngomezulu, when he was alive, he put it to one of the witnesses, to 2 of the witnesses, who was the one that unalived Senzo Meyiwa. I would like you to listen to this audio of Advocate Mngomezulu when he was still alive. May his soul rest in peace. But listen to him and you make sense of it.
Tumelo Mashala told Mr. Shope straight. Told him that the boyfriend of Zandi is the one who shot Senzo. Tumelo Mashala told Mr. Shope straight. Told him that the boyfriend of Zandi is the one who shot Senzo.
Amen. The statement by Mlungisi alleged that Tumelo Madlala phoned Mlungisi just after Senzo was shot. Tumelo Madlala told Hlophe that Senzo has been shot by Longotwala. Mistake. So he phoned him before they had an opportunity to come up with these lies. So at that stage, it means Tumela Madlala was still an honest person. He was not being influenced by Abolong and Abozandi. That was when he made that phone call. An hour later and so on, they had a chance to come up with this intruder theory that is now before court. So we know, based on the statement, Tumela Madlala told the truth to Mr. Mlungisi. So lenganekwane lesi inkantolo njengamanje is just a fairy tale esizoqhubeka for isikhashana. But we know that docket 375, it is the docket where the Mayor family, Senzo, and everyone will get justice on. Warrant Officer Makubo investigated that docket thoroughly. So I can safely say that the evidence that is contained in that docket implicates the people that were in the house. We know that they lied when they deposed their statements. However, one fact that cannot be disputed even by them, even by the state, is that Mapiri cleaned the crime scene when everyone was at the hospital. So the least that could have happened is that Mapiri was supposed to be charged by Baloyi for defeating the ends of justice, but it was not done. So Baloyi is picking people that he wants to charge, and you can see the trend. If you are related to the Kumalos in any way, you can't be charged. Mapiri is their neighbor, so I'm sure the Kumalos spoke on her behalf and pleaded for mercy. But Mapiri should have been charged because she cleaned the crime scene. When the forensic came to check the blood on the floor and in the house, they found little blood, meaning that it was cleaned thoroughly. So the evidence before court is not complete. So the guys that are charged for this murder, accused 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they should be acquitted because the evidence is tainted. Mapiri interfered with the evidence. So these guys cannot be found guilty. So Judge Racha Mokhatling, I'm hoping that he does not forget any piece of evidence that came before court, because this puzzle, we have to connect it, like connecting the dots, like a puzzle. You have to put there and there and there and there, whatever is available. So I'm hoping that Judge Racha will not be biased, as I think he is. I'm hoping that Judge Racha is going to prove me wrong and say accused 1 not guilty, accused 2 not guilty, accused 3 not guilty, accused 4 not guilty, accused 5 not guilty. And then he says, Baloyi, your case was very weak. Case dismissed. Thank you for watching.